Fear stops us from achieving our true greatness. Are you a professional woman who is feeling stuck, unmotivated, or burned out? Are you worried about your wellness? Are you letting fear stop you from crushing your goals? If you answered yes to any or all of these, then this is the podcast for you. Dr. Charmaine Gregory, night shift emergency physician, burnout thriver, and wellness champion, along with everyday heroes just like you, will explore how to face fear in our lives and emerge victoriously.
Hello. Super excited to be with you again for another week. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to take a listen to the Fearless Freedom of Dr. G podcast. I truly appreciate you. I also appreciate the fact that you have been so awesome and have left some really amazing messages as far as supporting the podcast, that you've subscribed to the podcast, that you have helped us to break the barriers of the amount of downloads. I shared with you the other week that we had crushed the 10,000 mark and we are just climbing. And every single month, more and more of you are downloading. So thank you so much for all of your support. I cannot thank you enough because it is definitely so encouraging to see that the podcast is reaching you and that you are benefiting from it. And just hearing that you are facing your fear and that you are emerging victoriously just warms my heart and makes it all worth it. So I just wanted to share a couple of things with you. So more wins. So we have essentially pretty much completed the podcasting launch course that has been going on. And I am super excited because several of the women in the group have already published their first episode. And this week, Pivot and Bloom launched. And so Pivot and Bloom is a podcast by Dr. Camila, and it is amazing. So you have to go to your listening platform and look up Pivot and Bloom and listen to her first episode. It is hot, absolutely hot, off the charts. And then today I had the absolute pleasure of being interviewed by Patti Perez, and I got to be on her podcast, and I was kind of nervous because I'm like, wow, I'm going to get to be on Patti's podcast. And so her podcast is going to be launched next week, and it's called The Drama-Free Workplace. So definitely look up those two shows, give them some love, share it, subscribe, leave a positive comment, leave a 5-star rating, because that is going to really help these ladies to have an absolutely successful show. So thank you again for you supporting me. Thank you for supporting my people. And I really appreciate you. So that was exciting news, right? So the launch course is now coming to an end, and now we're actually starting to see the product coming out of it. And I mean, it is just phenomenal. There are a couple more shows that are going to be coming out that I am very excited to see launch as well. So this has been a fabulous journey. I have really learned a lot being with these women, and it has taught me to look at some things within my own show and my own self. And so it's been a personal development journey for me as well. So I haven't told them this, but it really has taught me quite a bit. And so I am looking forward to doing it again. I've been asked, and several of you have asked me, when is the next one? When is the next one? I am going to need to take a little bit of a break to kind of regroup and get some other things going. And then I probably will do the next one probably in August or September. And you feel free, though, to sign up for the wait list. I have a wait list that I'm going to put in the show notes. You just go to this link and you can sign up for the wait list if you're interested in starting a show and you want to get a facilitated coaching course to get you through there and get you there. The other great news is we have fired off on the launch of the Done For You podcasting service, which is thepodcastinabox.com. And that has been going fabulously. I am so excited to see what comes out of that as far as the shows and all of the awesomeness that you all bring to the table. So the great thing about the podcast in a box, though, is that you provide the audio, and then myself and my team does all the heavy lifting. So we do all the stuff, get you loaded up on the platforms, get your show art done, get your logo done, get your episodes polished, published, and edited. So we do all the hard work. All you have to do is provide the audio, and we get you started with 5 shows completely done and ready to roll. So that is the Podcast in a Box launch packet, and I'm super excited that it's out there and that you can partake in that. And you can find out more about that at thepodcastinabox.com. Okay, so those are the announcements, the great news from the podcasting launch course, and the great news that the Done For You, get it up and going is out there and ready for you to utilize. So 2 amazing things. I'm continuing to face my fear of public speaking, and given that we have no physical stages, I am still doing virtual speaking engagements. So I'm very thrilled that the next upcoming event is going to be the Thrive 2G conference, and that is coming up in a few weeks. And that one is for women of color in the health professions. And so I am excited about speaking there, because guess what I'm going to talk about? Fear of public speaking and podcasting and getting your voice out there and becoming an influencer as far as speaking to your tribe. So I'm very excited about being a part of the Thrive 2G conference this year, because it is going to be phenomenal, and I cannot wait, because the cast is going to be fabulous and the participants are going to be phenomenal, and we are going to grow and bond and encourage and uplift. And so that's what it's all about, so that we can all rise higher. And then this week we have Dr. Milene Argo, and she is going to be talking about the situations that she has been in, and we get deep. The conversation got really deep really quickly and is very timely in regard to all the things that are happening right now. So I'm excited for you to hear this episode. So I look forward to catching you on the other side, and enjoy. Hello, Fearless Freedom family. This is Dr. G, and we are back for another exciting episode. This week, we have all the way from Georgia, Dr. Milene Argo. Dr. Argo, you want to tell the Fearless Freedom Tribe all about who you are and what you are up to?
Oh, absolutely. I am a 40-something-year-old internist, and my story began about 3 years ago when I found myself 80 pounds overweight and just miserable. I realized that I had worked day in and day out to jump all these hoops to become a doctor, to finish residency. And I was 4 practices in. I had switched practices 4 different times and just found myself overweight. And in my quest to lose weight, I found life coaching. And not only did I lose 80 pounds, but I've gotten my life back. And I've just been super excited at all the results that I've produced over the last few years, and really realized that, hey, I didn't have to move practices again, that there is no greener pasture, and that all I needed to do was to start watering my lawn, weeding it, and to keep it trimmed, and that I could have a life that I dreamed of by creating it. So that's where I am now. I work full time as an internist and have a lot of extra stuff that I do on the side that brings me a whole lot of joy.
Like what?
I'm currently looking into starting my practice as a life coach. So nice. I'll be practicing. Haven't quite decided what that's going to look like, if it'll be full time or part time. But in addition, one of my passions, now looking back, I realized I was burned out. You know, as physicians, we don't know, or I didn't know how to ask for help. And for me, the way that it presented itself was just me being so overweight. But as I look back, I was just really allowing work to take up way more space than what it needed to. So for example, I was working about 12-hour days. And then on the weekends, I was spending about 4 hours charting, and really figured out that my perfectionism was just really driving me to work so much. So now I'm like, I have so much more freedom at work. I'm spending much less time, way more productive, and all because of learning to manage my mind and to create a different mindset for myself.
Absolutely. Wow. There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Because I mean, I think that you touched on a point that maybe a lot of us have experienced or are experiencing. And that is the situation where we are burning out and we don't realize it, number one. And also, if we do realize it, we don't know where to go, where to turn for assistance getting out of that. I could definitely tell you that I've been in your shoes. Went through burnout some years ago, and that was quite an experience. And it is a crazy place when you don't realize that you're actually in it. And so I definitely am very excited to hear that you found a outlet and you found a way out. And then you've also found a way to pay it forward, which is really the key, because, you know, it's one thing to survive a thing. It's one thing to thrive despite a thing, but it's a whole other ballgame to give back so others can benefit. So thank you for doing that. That's
you.
awesome.
Yes.
That's awesome.
It definitely brought more meaning to my life. And now where I am, I've been practicing for 19 years, and I look ahead and I think, wow, I may have another 20 years, but the last 19 years, I really felt like I was asleep.
Gotcha.
It was sort of like I was in this maze and just doing whatever I needed to do to get by day. So I really want this next 20 years to be created on purpose, with passion, to figure out, how do I leave my mark on this world? You know, what is it that I want to intentionally create? And it's just fun to think about, hey, I'm the main character of my life. And what do I want this to look like, instead of what I had before, where, you know, I didn't realize I was burned out. It wasn't until I got out of it that I realized that every day became a carbon copy of the day before. And I was spending way too much time eating and way too much time working. And once I got all of that sort of compartmentalized to where it was just taking up a little bit more time, it's like my life blossomed. And now I have all this extra time to pursue things that bring me joy and happiness on purpose.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so, because I mean, there is something liberating about what you said, right? You said that you found the things that were sapping your energy, the things that were not bringing you joy, and then you separated yourself from those things, right? Because you didn't walk away from medicine, but you found a way to make it more enjoyable, right? You found, you figured out what were the accoutrements that were negative, and you shed those things. And then that freed up not only mind space, which is huge, right? Because that's how our creativity gets stifled, etc. So you freed up not only mind space, but you also freed up some time space as well, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know, when I was in it, I kept thinking it was the job, right? So my first job was in academics, and I thought, oh, it's just academics. It's just too much. I was on the wards. I was preparing presentations. You had my own clinic, and I ran the residence clinic, and I was there for 5 years. And I'm like, there's got to be something better. So then I went to a private practice and joined a guy that I knew, and that we just didn't really see eye to eye on that management. I was doing inpatient and outpatient and just run. And I thought, was there for 5 years. And finally I was like, you know what, this isn't it. I left Atlanta and moved an hour north, moved to a rural community that I absolutely love. And after those 5 years, again, I felt like Goldilocks, right? It's like, okay, no, this isn't it.
Not the right fit. Not the right fit.
Not the right fit, right? Yeah. So I kept thinking, and my son, I have two boys. my son was in high school, and I thought, I don't want to uproot him. We've already been uprooted. I'm just going to find some place to work where I could just drive. So I drove to another community in Northeast Georgia and was there. It took me about 45 minutes there for 6 years. And then it became time for me to decide, hey, at this point, once he graduated high school, I'm going to move. But the hospital wasn't doing well. My practice was thriving. And so I was like, do I really want to move?
Right.
I really want to uproot my family because I have a younger son, and my younger son was in elementary school, and I decided no. So I started looking for another job. Well, as I started looking for this other job is when I discovered life coaching. And I just realized, wow, okay. So in my quest to lose weight, I realized that I was creating my reality with the way that I was thinking about it. So it was great news, because if I'm creating the way that I'm feeling, then I could also decide on purpose to feel differently and to create different things in my life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's amazing. Yeah, it's the mindset is huge. It is just so huge. People underestimate how powerful the soundtrack that we play in our minds can be and is in affecting changes in ourselves, because we are the ones that are holding us back every single time. It's us.
It's us. Yeah, it's us. It's like we're on our own obstacles. One of the things that I've really learned is that I invest a lot in coaching, and the amount that I've invested in myself has paid me back like twice as much. So my thought is, if I invest 10% of my income into coaching and into self-development and things that help me to create joy and to really help me with that self-talk and with what's going on in my brain, it's amazing. It's like my life is on steroids, honestly.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome.
Anyone who can relate to that, they understand the magnitude of that expression, your life on steroids. It's like amazing. No, that's great. And then, so throughout this, so you mentioned several changes, right? You mentioned that you went from academia to community, to rural community. Then you went from a place where you were able to basically go to work at a short distance to a 45-minute commute. Was there ever any fear associated with any of those changes? And how did you deal with it?
Now looking back, I thought, wow, I'm super resourceful, right? Because I reestablished my practice 4 times, and I was successful all 4 times. And the amount of energy that it took to sort of pick everything up and start all over again, now when I look back, I was like, wow, I must have been really unhappy to think about, okay, no, this isn't it. I'm going to go and just start myself all over again. I didn't really ever have fear there because of the fact that I've always been confident in my ability as a physician. I feel like I'm really down to earth, and I feel like I really connect with my patients. So that part of it I do well. It was the other stuff. It was the data entry. It was the completing your notes, refilling prescriptions. It was all of the business of medicine that to me was so overwhelming that a lot of my perfectionism, I would have to, I would look over things twice and, really realize that I had a lot of fear of, am I going to get sued, and I need to check and make sure that this is done and make sure that that's done. And as my confidence grew and my perfectionism, as I conquered my perfectionism, my confidence grew. And I find that I'm so much more efficient. I can go with my gut. I can tune in with my gut, get the note done, come up with the treatment plan, and move on to the next patient, while at the same time closing up that last encounter and feeling confident in the work that I had done instead of second guessing myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But where I have experienced some fear is that, so through all of this transformation, I've decided that I want to be the change that I want to see in medicine.
Okay.
I want to really work on changing the culture.
Okay.
So at my institution, we're about 60 multi-specialty outpatient practice owned by a hospital, and we've not had a CMO. So that role became available about a year ago. So I decided, well, they started saying they were going to hire a CMO from inside.
Okay.
And so I started to think, hey, that could be me.
Right.
You know, I've got the tools, I've got the coaching tools. I really want to be an advocate for physicians. And what if the second part of my career was spent in administration, helping to create the practice environment, creating practices that were pro-physician, and really helping to streamline. And I really like practice. I really like process improvement. I like looking at processes. So I thought that was right in line. So with that, I started to have some fear because I don't see myself as a public speaker. So I started thinking, okay, well, I'm going to have to get up in front of people. I'm going to have to be a public speaker. And so I started really looking at it and deciding, okay, this is going to be a skill, right? This is a skill that anybody can learn. So decided that Harvard had a CMO director course. So I thought, okay, where else is better? I'm going to go to Harvard. I'm just going to go and just check it out and see what's up. Went and absolutely loved it. Looked around the room and I'm like, Milene, you belong here.
That's right.
In this room is smarter than you. No one's more eloquent than you. You can do this.
Mm-hmm.
So got a bunch of ideas there. And then they were trying to get physicians more involved. And so I raised my hand and I said, I want to be involved. So we put together a physician work group to come together and try to figure out how do we make some improvements in our medical system. Had to give up and give a talk. And of course, the imposter syndrome just kind of reared its ugly head. And I'm like, oh, how am I ever going to do it? So I thought, you know what, Milene, do what you did before, hire a coach. So I hired a speaking coach and, I had already written my speech. She went and added some just awesome touches. She really helped me to put a through line in. She helped me to develop a theme that was all throughout my speech. So I went in there knowing that my speech was A+++. It was material along with her helping me to sort of fine tune it. So I went and I killed it. It was awesome. We had a great, I was really able to advocate for the physicians. They wanted to do it after work hours. I said, no, let's do this on a Friday. I think everyone should get paid for their time for being here. WRVU credits for everybody for their time. It was just a win-win. Mm-hmm. And it felt really good. So around that time, I put in my application for the CMO role. And then Corona hit, right? So I'm still waiting to hear about, I'm still going to have to interview. And, I know that I can do it 100%. And the public speaking doesn't really frighten me anymore. I know that I have a message that I want to get out there, and I know that it's a tool. And, I've thought about, well, maybe I'll do the Dale Carnegie course on public speaking. Maybe I'll do Toastmasters. It doesn't matter. I know that I have me, and that once I decide if this is something that I'm going to need to do, then I can find the resources.
Absolutely. No, I love it. Love it. Well, I mean, I don't know if you know this, but the Fearless Freedom Tribe knows this, but I have a huge fear of public speaking. I mean, huge. And that's the main reason why this podcast even got started. That's the main reason why I became a public speaker, was because of that fear. So whenever I see someone stepping out of comfort zones like you are, to put yourself out there, number one, to be in a position like that where you're making a huge difference, and you're also doing this despite the fact that you're maybe a little bit nervous about getting in front of people and speaking. But you have the confidence, you have everything, all the tools that you need to make it happen. You said it, you have you, right? And so you're the most important component. And so you have that.
Yeah. And I definitely think that in the past, I thought that if you're really good at something, then you shouldn't have fear, or you shouldn't be nervous about it, or you shouldn't be uncomfortable. And in this process, what I've learned is that, of course, I'm uncomfortable. It doesn't mean anything. Uncomfortableness comes with it. I remember when I was practicing for that speech, I was nervous. I was sitting there thinking, oh, I'm going to mess up, until I realized, I'm like, you know what? This is just part of the process. It's like you feel it. You're like, yeah, I see it. I just don't let it ride in the front seat with me anymore. It rides in the back seat. I'm like, yeah, it's there. That's okay. We're going to still push forward. It doesn't mean that I should stop.
I love that. I love that, Pearl. Okay. I really hope you guys got this. I'm talking to the Fearless Freedom Tribe now. I really hope you guys got that. Did you hear what Dr. Argo just said? She said, I don't let it ride in the front seat with me anymore. She's like, I'm done with that. You fear, you get to the back seat because this ride is continuing. It is not stopping, but you're not going to be in the front seat with me. You're not going to hold me back. So no, that's great. That's a great Pearl. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for that one. Yes, 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 yes. And so it sounds like steps forward for you are going to be with the life coaching from the entrepreneurial side, but it's also going to be with, doing something where you're becoming an advocate within administration for your peers through, we're just going to manifest that you've gotten this position. So through the CMO position.
Right.
Correct?
Possibly. Yes.
Yeah.
If I decide
we're gonna manifest that you're gonna have it. So,
right.
Yeah,
I definitely think I could have it if I want it. And I think the fact that it's been so delayed, again, I've been looking at this for a year and it's been one thing after the other. Okay. And I don't know, once it becomes available, I'll get to decide if I want it or not.
That's right.
On, I'll be the one that gets to decide, if it's in my best interest. I know that I'm looking at the second half of my career is making a difference and really, no matter what I'm involved with, really serving my community, whether it's physicians or whether it's just the community at large.
No, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
That's huge. It's like, it is a manifestation of the oath we made, right? When we made that oath to serve, to protect, not to harm, that is, part of it is what we do every day in the clinic or in the lab or wherever it is that we practice our medical practice. But it's also, making a difference with the people that we do serve. It's making a difference with the people that we serve along with. So I think that's awesome. I definitely think me in my office, seeing my patients, I can reach a community of like 20 patients a day times 4, whatever. But if I'm helping my community of physicians, my reach is so much bigger, right? It's multiple practices, different subspecialties, and really sort of digging in and trying to change the culture of medicine so that we do get the help that we need and that we do take care of ourselves and that we have care and compassion for the healers, right? Because without that, I think that, medicine, we're expected to just work, but we're humans too. And as humans, we're patients and we have things that we need to overcome and that we need to admit and work through just like everybody else. Absolutely. Yeah. It's, caring for the healer. It's huge. That is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if our cups aren't full, guess what? Can't serve with an empty cup.
Cannot serve with an empty cup. That's definitely true.
So no, that's huge. Wow. Okay. So, you talked very eloquently about your transition from sounds like a place of pain to a place of power, in that you're able to step into your greatness and see your true zone of genius, right? You already recognize one of them, because you basically said that you have an affinity to caring for people. You have an affinity to caring for a population of people. So you're able to start from zero and build up to a good level every single time you've made a transition. The 4 times. It's been 4 times, right? Yeah. So each one of those times you've been able to do that. So that is a superpower that you possessed. But you possess. And then the other thing that you said is that, you also had another superpower that manifested itself. You were able to recognize when something was off kilter. And then you were able to then not only recognize, but then figure out ways. And you said this when you talked about how you are really good at processes, right? So you were able to, you probably analyzed what was going on and said, you know what, this is not right. This is not right. I need to course correct. How can I do that? Okay, I'm going to get a coach. I'm going to get a coach to help me to get to this next place. And then you were able to get on the path where you discovered your next superpower, which is implementing processes to affect the lives of others.
Yeah.
So, great. That is a great superpower. You took the one that you identified within the House of Medicine that you discovered because of the House of Medicine, and now you're applying it to those that are suffering external to, maybe also inside of the House of Medicine. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun.
That is awesome.
Absolutely.
Cool. And so do you see yourself continuing in clinical practice at this point? Like, so for example, if you move up to the CMO position, are you going to continue your clinical practice? Are you going to pare back a little bit? How are you going to navigate that?
Anything's possible. I'm thinking I may scale back clinical practice, and because I think as a CMO, I want to still connect with my people. And I definitely think that continuing to see patients will help me sort of have my pulse, be able to have my finger on the pulse of what's going on and how the systems are working and so forth. So I imagine that I'd still be in clinical practice, maybe down to 2 days a week, and then the remainder of the time to be in an administrative role. But the beauty of it is I think I'm going to be able to choose. So, and I know that I can create it with however I want to do. And it may be something that I phase out over time, but we'll see.
Yeah, but that's the key, right? You have the choice. You can make that decision. So that's great.
Absolutely.
It's a good position to be in, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of times we feel like we are, and I'm just speaking about what I've been hearing lately, particularly amongst us as physicians. A lot of people are feeling very helpless, and they are feeling helpless because, for a variety of reasons, what is happening. They don't feel like they have control because there is not a cure for the situation as of the moment. They don't want to see people suffering, obviously. They may have been going through a situation where their ability to practice medicine has been thwarted because of the situation that we're currently in. So there's a myriad of reasons why, but a lot of people are feeling helpless. They're not necessarily realizing that, this is a crisis, yes, but this is also an opportunity for effecting change, right? The chinks in the armor of the House of Medicine have been exposed by this crisis, and this could be an opportunity to try to figure out a better way of doing things so that everyone feels served, right? The people who are delivering the care feel served. The patients, which are the most important, obviously, as the end user, feel very important and cared for. So yeah, it's either a time where you shrink back or a time when you step up and you come up with solutions and then you establish yourself as a leader. So it kind of sounds like you're in the category of stepping up and establishing yourself as a leader. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We got telemedicine. I was one of the pioneers here with telemedicine, and we got that up and going overnight. It's after we had looked at it multiple times before, and of course it wasn't reimbursed. So yeah,
right.
I definitely like thinking of myself as someone who's ahead of the curve and an early adopter.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. And then, so tell us, so you talked about some of the things that you do outside, right? So you talked about life coaching as one of your outside pursuits. Are there other things that you do that you would like to share?
Well, I think, the death of George Floyd really touched me. And I don't know where I've been, because I think that, I've always thought, hey, I'm not racist. I'm Hispanic. I'm from Colombia. My family is first generation immigrants. But I think it was just the fact that my resilience was so low with the pandemic and with the 2 other cases with Breonna Taylor and with Ahmaud Arbery, and then seeing all of the video and everything with George Floyd, it just kind of sucker punched me. Mm-hmm. And, I think our African-American sisters and brothers are, like, well, where has everyone been? This has been going on forever. But for me, yes, essentially. But for me, it was really, maybe I was just too busy. Maybe it was, I didn't have, I've been so focused on myself, right? It's like you're trying to get your work done. You're doing this, you're doing that. And so, I'm really thinking that the second half of my career, I definitely want to be an advocate for social justice, and definitely have found myself stepping out here at work, sending an email to my bosses saying, hey, what are we going to do about this? How are we going to address it? What plans do we have in place? And, really looking into it. I attended my first march. My small town had a a protest, a peaceful protest. And I was excited. I went, and it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. And, my family was like, well, what if it goes violent? Well, what if it doesn't? I was scared, but I went anyway. And I'm so glad that I did, because I really felt like I learned a lot. There was, I'm in a small town, so there's 2 individuals that sort of headed this up. And I've decided I'm going to reach out to them to see what I can do from a community standpoint. How can I get involved? I know we have a Boys and Girls Club, and I know that they do some work there. But to see, how do I get involved, and how do I get involved, especially if I go into a leadership position, I definitely want to implement as much as we can, and see how can we bring all of this to the forefront and talk about it, because it is hard to talk about. I've never, ever talked about racism. I've listened to more stuff on anti-racism and have really read a lot, and had recently really enjoyed Brene Brown's interview with Ibram Kendi. He was the writer of Anti-Racist.
Yes.
And something he said really spoke to me. I think it was him that said, you know what, this is not a Black problem. This is a white problem. And it's just like, exactly, if we can get...
I try to explain it to my friends, but not all get it.
It's not a Black problem. If we could get, and I think for me, I'm a real emotional person, and thinking, how can my one little tear in this ocean make a difference? But it can. I've definitely realized, I don't know if you've heard Sunny Smith talk about that. She went to their graduation ceremony, and the lady from the lead, I can't even think of the name of it, but the whole lead water issue. I'm kind of drawing.
Oh, in Flint? You're talking about in Flint?
Yes,
Yeah.
Flint. Yeah, that was their keynote speaker, and she said, "My MD is my microphone." I was like, "Wow, yes." And so when I sent that email this week, I was, I thought about it. How do I say it? I'm like, it doesn't matter what I say. It's just the fact that I spoke up. It was just. And really thinking about, somebody else said, do you expect the victim to be the one to take the lead? No. So really, who better than me? And who is it that we're waiting for? And, I've heard this on social media time and time again, and I think this time is different. I really do. I think it's different. I know it's touched me so incredibly different, that I'm having hard conversations with people in my life, and really learning that sometimes it's just been easier to not think about it, but it's time we all think about it. So so that's and so I've got this other secret, because with the pandemic, I'll just show you that my hair.
Look at that. Beautiful.
I've always colored my hair. So I've been wearing this thing.
Yeah.
Because, you're supposed to wash your hair every day, blah, blah, blah. And so and plus I'm wearing scrubs, which I don't ever do. So my hair's gotten more and more gray. So I've decided that I'm going to embrace myself. I'm just going to let it be gray.
Be authentically you.
Yeah. And someone told me, she's like, well, have you seen Storm? I'm like, no, who's Storm? So I went and looked it up, and it was
X-Men. Yeah.
It's Halle Berry, and it's a superhero that she plays, and she's got this funky gray hair. Yeah. So I've decided that's who I'm going to be. I'm going to be Storm. And
that's awesome.
The second half of my career, and I go Friday to get it cut. So be on the lookout on social media, because I'll post some pictures. So my hair is really thick and long.
Okay.
So it's here, and it's always been brown. So now I think I'm going to be white-headed, and I'm going to have a super fun, spunky haircut to go along with my second half of my life.
Oh, that's great. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. So who knows? Maybe Storm. Maybe she'll help me to channel my internal Black woman.
There you go. There you go. There you go. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, hey, however it happens. Definitely. Awesome. Yeah, no, there's I can talk about this topic for a while, and my perspective is interesting, because I'm also an immigrant, and so it's been a very interesting situation, because like you said, when you talk to people who have been experiencing it for decades, it's kind of like, well, it's always been here. Like that's always been happening. Like it's happening in the educational system. It's happening in real estate. It's happening in every aspect of our life. It's interwoven in our society. And, but I can see how you would not know about it if you are not affected by it. Like, I can totally see that. And I never like, if somebody says I didn't know, I don't say, how could you not know? I just say, I kind of get why you didn't know, because you're not affected by it, which is fine. But the difference is when you are notified of what's happening, that you're actually doing something, right? So that is for you, whether it is writing a letter, signing a petition, donating to an organization, being vocal about it, exercising your right to vote, whatever that looks like for you. But it's the whole fact of, once you know about something, doing something, right? And whatever that looks like.
Right. That's the difference between empathy and compassion, right? Empathy is feeling for somebody else, and compassion is doing something about it. It's taking action. So and I spent a week where I was just emotional, and I really couldn't understand it. Now I understand it. I think I was grieving. I think it was the fact that, hey, how was I so out of tune? How, that a whole race is suffering, and that it hadn't really been on my radar. And honestly, now that I think back, I think really I was just so self-centered. And I think a lot of us are that way, is that, like you said, it's not affecting us. But for me, something was triggered. There was a mind shift change. There was something that really triggered in me that is really helping me to just feel a deep level of empathy and compassion, and know that I want to do something to be the change that I want to see in this world.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, it's an interesting thing, but you said it very well when you said that, now that you see it, you're having conversations, right? And I think that is a thing that people may or may not understand the power behind, or the power of, is conversations, right? Because if you and I had someone, I liken this to the fact that we have something coming up, and they were having a hard time finding a colleague of color to be part of this, even though there are many colleagues of color who have the expertise in which to be able to do well in this thing. And I said, yeah, I kind of understand why you guys can't, because you don't have conversations with us. We're invisible to you. And so if somebody is invisible to you, you're not having the conversations with them. You don't know what they bring to the table. So you're going to choose the people who are right in front of you, that you see every day, that you already know what they bring to the table. And so it's not that you're all the time, trying to be racist or whatever. I don't think that that's necessarily always the case. But you're gonna, if you go golfing with someone and you know that they are really good at websites and you need a website, you're gonna call your golf buddy to do the website. You're not gonna seek out somebody else to do the website for you. I mean, it's a similar thing. And so that's the power of sponsorship that is not being tapped into. So you have people among you who just happen to have melanin in their skin, who are experts and in their zones of genius, that you're overlooking for positions, for opportunities, to have seats at the table, because you don't have conversations with them. You don't know anything beyond, hey, how's it going? How's the weekend? Like, nothing more. You don't know, like, that they have a company on the side that does whatever, that has an EMR developing that can revolutionize your organization. Like, you would know that because you don't have the conversation. So it really starts with real conversations, and not like the superficial stuff that we do. Like, hey, how's it going? I'm fine. When you're not fine. You know what I mean? So it's a basic thing. It's not complicated. It's really basic.
And it really is getting over the discomfort and doing it anyway. And I think realizing that, it is a little bit uncomfortable to go seek people out and have these discussions that are deep and meaningful, I've learned so much this last week. And I think when you hear people's story, it becomes personal. It's not just a story on the news. It's like, wow. Yeah. And it's really just strengthened my desire to be involved and to be part of the change, whatever that looks like in my realm.
Indeed. Well, I thank you for that. I thank you for getting into that space, because I know it's not comfortable. And it's unfortunate that it took such a dramatic situation for people to kind of become aware.
Yes.
Right? But, we're here now. And so the best thing that we can do is we can just do better for the future. Like we can move forward, progress.
Start right where we are. Yeah. We just
exactly.
start and my hope is that there's other people out there that have been just as touched as I have, and that together we can all work towards equality and ending racism.
And I definitely believe that there are quite a lot of people who have been. I
think this pandemic was the perfect storm. All of our nerves were already exposed, and then having this happen again, it was just enough. I think all of, I mean, I really feel that there's been a change. I know with me, it's sort of like you can't unsee it. It's like once you see something, the huge injustice, and no part of me wants to ignore it.
Indeed.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for sharing your truth. I appreciate that. I mean, it's not easy to be vulnerable and to, say exactly what you're feeling. And I feel like those are the things, and those are the, that's the reason why we can go forward. Once we share our truth and we just say, hey, this is where I'm starting from. This is where this is where I like to go. Let's do it together, kind of thing. I think that is really going to be paramount in getting progress happening here. Yeah.
That's right where you are so that you can get to somewhere different. Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow. That went super deep, like fast.
It did.
No, it's good stuff. Good stuff. So do you have, for your life coaching business, do you have a website you'd like to share with the tribe, or how they can contact you if they're interested in getting to know you better?
I do. I'm at thedoctoringcoach.com.
Perfect.
thedoctoringcoach.com.
Awesome. And then they can get to, all your channels through there, like your social media is connected there. Perfect.
And I also have a Facebook page with the same name, The Doctoring Coach.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, I know that people are going to be reaching out to you, because this, like I said, we went deep on this one. So no, that was great. I
really enjoyed it. It's been lots of fun.
Yes, it's been a great conversation. And so, as great conversations do have to sometimes come to an end, I think that we'll have to come to an end here. But the way that we're going to do it is with our tradition, which is the 3 fill in the blanks. So, Dr. Argo, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, awesome. All right. So the first one is, if I am fearless, I will
expect fear to be present and do it anyway.
Nice. Mm-hmm. And then the next one is, to me, fearless freedom means
understanding more.
Love it. And then last but not least, my battle cry is.
This was the hard one. Kurahi, which means standing alone. There's a mountain here in Georgia that, as I was reading about it, that the military would walk up it and then they would parachute down. So they'd all go up together 3 miles, and they would parachute down. And in that time, Geronimo was what people would say when they jumped off of this mountain. And at this one particular place, they would say Kurahi, and Kurahi means standing alone.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to talk to us and to share your story, to share your thoughts, to share your heart. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This has been so much fun.
Awesome.